The internet, a world full of memes, games, shopping, and everything in between. Social media and the digital world have become somewhat of a trademark for the new millennium. Despite the internet's seemingly unshakable popularity in the Western world, the stats show that its popularity amongst all generations is growing. Almost all aspects of communication have made the transition from physical to digital, and our means of communication evolve each year, getting faster and faster. Faster communication means faster spreading of ideas, and like most other human behaviors, such as humor and a desire to see cute things, racism has transcended the digital barrier and taken the internet by storm. The internet allows anyone with a Wi-Fi enabled device to create and respond to content, meaning that for every Trevor Noah, a Tomi Lahren is also going viral. And in recent years, websites like YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram have created algorithms that only suggest content that aligns with what the viewer wants to see. This has created the perfect breeding ground for groupthink and group polarization online. In short, groupthink is when a group of people with the same mindset think as one without considering dissenting viewpoints. And group polarization is when a group of people whose views are the same become more radicalized after talking with one another. Basically, this way of thinking can be a disaster when race is involved. Combine groupthink with the looming presence of fake news in today's media, and you'll think that, well, talking about race is impossible. So you may ask, what is the answer? Easy. We never talk about race ever again. I'm joking. If there's one positive role that social media plays in all this, it's its ability to spread awareness about race. We may live in a post-racial world, but even within the last month alone, there's been an outcry against racism because of several stories about minorities being profiled for no reason. Like that girl at Yale, or those two men at Starbucks, or those two guys barbecuing in Oakland. But back to the point, the issue isn't talking about race, it's how we talk about race. We should discuss race the same way we discuss literature. The concept of racial literacy has become more and more popular over the years, and it's basically a pedagogy of how to think about race critically. You might be wondering, how does one become racially literate? Well, it turns out there's only 5 steps you need to follow. 1. View racism as a contemporary problem, not a historical legacy. 2. Examine how race/racism are intertwined with class, gender, inequality, and sexuality. 3. Examine the cultural and symbolic value of whiteness. 4. Interpret radicalized practices and racial codes. And 5. Learn racial identities. This may seem like a lot, but it's nothing we don't already do in school. Racial literacy employs the same analytical skills we use on historical documents and classic novels, only this time you're analyzing the world around you, and instead of a document, you could be reading a tweet or watching a video. We believe that a racial literacy class should be mandatory for high school freshmen. This is because the teenage years are when people begin to form their sense of self. And in addition to education on racial literacy and social media examples, our class would be structured similar to the Starbucks newly implemented racial bias training. They incorporated tactics such as open discussion, hypothetical situations, and bias testing. Incorporating a high school 101 style class on racial literacy into the curriculum could really help prepare future students for 3 reasons. 1. It has been statistically proven that white Americans are more likely to avoid conversations and content about race than their minority counterparts. At predominantly white schools, this could really get the conversation started. Reason number 2. In an open forum class, it would force individuals to acknowledge dissenting opinions about race. In regular online settings, this may not happen since algorithms on social media websites show people what they want to see. And finally, reason number 3. Should students discover that they do in fact have racial bias, the hope is that they will begin to view racism differently online and in real-life situations. So to wrap up, social media is very powerful and can be used for both good and bad reasons in regards to racism. But our hope is that by looking at it a little differently, we can overcome racism completely.